Have you ever heard of a tractor so scarce you'd be lucky to spot it even in the most prestigious antique tractor show? Well, today we're going to talk about 10 of the rarest American utility tractors that you probably didn't know even existed. From obscure manufacturers to limited production runs, each of these machines holds a unique place in our nation's farming heritage dating back to the early to mid-1900s. Let's dive right in and rediscover these mechanical treasures. Number 10, the Leader Model D. The Leader Tractor Manufacturing Company in Auburn, Ohio might not be the first name that springs to mind when you think of a classic American farm piece of machinery, but it certainly left an indelible mark on agricultural history. Between 1948 and the mid-1950s, they crafted the Leader Model D, a small yet robust utility tractor that quickly became a point of pride for those lucky enough to operate one. While large players like John Deere and International Harvester dominated the market, Leader stood out by offering an affordable, no-frills machine that got the job done. Now, under the hood, you typically find a 4-cylinder Continental engine capable of producing around 20 horsepower at the drawbar. Now, that might not sound huge by modern standards, but in its day, this was a game-changer for smaller farms. Its compact size and relative lightweight design made it perfect for tasks like cultivating, plowing small fields, and hauling light loads. Unlike bigger, heavier tractors, the Model D proved nimble in tight spaces, making it appealing for farmers who needed versatility on a budget. Now, one standout feature of the Leader Model D was its simplistic design philosophy. Maintenance was straightforward, with easily accessible parts and fewer complicated systems to break down. This reliability boosted its reputation, especially in rural communities where getting replacements often meant a lengthy trip to the nearest dealer. Although thousands of tractors were produced, surviving examples are surprisingly rare today, thanks to hard use and limited parts availability. So if you ever come across a Leader Model D at a vintage tractor show, well, you can expect a big wave of nostalgia from an era when local innovators tried to compete with the big brands. Tucked away in barns or found rusting behind old sheds, these gems remain a testament to the inventive spirit of post-war America. Number 9, the Gibson Model D. Moving from one D to another, the Gibson Model D hails from a company that started out in Seattle, Washington, and later relocated to Longmont, Colorado. Now, Gibson may not be a household name, but among seasoned tractor collectors, it's a brand that commands respect for its pioneering approach and rugged designs. In the late 1940s, Gibson built small utility tractors that aimed to capture the post-World War II farming boom by offering reliability and affordability. The Gibson Model D was powered by a single-cylinder or 2-cylinder engine depending on production run, capable of around 10 to 12 horsepower. Now that's modest, but in the context of its time, this compact muscle was more than enough for orchard work, landscaping, and small-scale farming duties. Because it was lighter and smaller, it excelled in scenarios when large row crop tractors proved unwieldy. Even so, it could still pull a plow or drag a harrow with surprising determination. One of the defining traits of the Gibson Model D was its straightforward mechanical configuration. It utilized a belt-driven transmission, which might sound primitive today, but actually made the machine easier to service. This was a significant benefit for farmers who couldn't afford prolonged downtime. Additionally, the Model D often came with adjustable wheel treads, allowing operators to configure the tractor to match specific row spacings, a feature that appealed to vegetable growers and specialty crop farmers. Production numbers for the Gibson tractors never rivaled industry giants, and as a result, these machines were scarce even in their heyday. Today, they're prized by collectors for their unique design, historical significance, and sheer determination in the field. Catching a Gibson Model D at a vintage farm show is a treat, especially for those who appreciate the underdogs of agricultural innovation. Tucked away in old barns, they serve as a tangible reminder of the entrepreneurial spirit driving the tractor industry in the mid-1900s. Number 8, the Rock Island Hyder C. Now, the Rock Island Plow Company's Hyder line might be a minor footnote in American farming, but its innovative spirit reverberates still to this day. The Rock Island Hyder C, produced roughly between the late 10s and early 1920s, was born in an era when tractor technology was still finding its footing. Yet it left a mark thanks to its unique friction drive transmission system, a setup that was different from the gear-driven transmissions that dominated the market. Powering the Hyder C was a 4-cylinder engine typically supplied by Waukesha or Leroy, capable of generating around 12 to 15 horsepower on the drawbar. Now, this might seem modest, but keep in mind that many farms at this time were still transitioning from horsepower of the literal variety. The real talking point, though, was that friction drive transmission. Instead of traditional gears, the tractor used friction discs to manage speed and direction. While it required careful maintenance and consistent cleaning, dust and debris could cause slippage. The system offered a surprisingly smooth operation with fewer abrupt gear changes. In an era when starting a tractor often meant wrestling with hand cranks and dealing with stubborn ignitions, the Hyder's design was considered forward-thinking. The adjustable wheel tread, good ground clearance, and moderate weight made it flexible for plowing, planting, and cultivating. Although Rock Island Plow Company eventually got absorbed into other agricultural manufacturers, the Hyder name still resonates with collectors who prize its innovative technology. Now, what makes Hyder C truly rare today is that relatively few have survived nearly a century of wear and tear. Parts can be tough to come by, forcing restorers to get creative or invest serious time in scavenging for original components. But for those who succeed in bringing a Hyder C back to life, it's a genuine piece of American tractor engineering that tells a story of innovation, perseverance, and a willingness to try something different during a pivotal time in farm mechanization. Number 7. The Meade Mighty Mouse. Now, when it comes to small but mighty, few names are as literal as the Meade Mighty Mouse. Produced in the 1940s by the Meade Specialties Company of Chicago, this pint-sized tractor was designed to tackle tasks that didn't require the heft of a full-sized field tractor. Initially marketed to landscapers, orchard owners, and hobby farmers, the Mighty Mouse earned its whimsical name by showcasing surprising power relative to its tiny structure. Equipped with a 1- or 2-cylinder engine, often a Briggs & Stratton or Wisconsin power plant, this machine typically put out around somewhere between 6 and 10 horsepower. On paper, that sounds like a little more than a garden tractor, but the Meade Mighty Mouse was engineered with heavy-duty components and a sturdy frame to handle ground-engaging implements. These included small plows, cultivators, and even snow blades. Functional additions that made the unit an attractive option for those with lighter farm chores or property maintenance needs. Now, one of the big selling points was its maneuverability. With a tight turning radius and a compact design, the Mighty Mouse can navigate cramped barnyards, narrow orchard rows, and suburban gardens with equal finesse. The company touted it as a do-it-all machine for those who needed more brawn than a walk-behind tiller but couldn't justify investing in a full-scale tractor. Despite the niche appeal, production numbers remained limited, and the Meade Specialties Company eventually wound down manufacturing. Today, finding a Meade Mighty Mouse is a bit like spotting a rare collectible at a flea market. You're more likely to see them at a tractor expo, meticulously restored by an enthusiastic hobbyist who relish the challenge in finding replacement parts. For folks who appreciate quirky engineering and a can-do attitude, the Mighty Mouse offers a nostalgic glimpse into a time when America was teeming with small startups, each hoping to make its mark in the world of agricultural machinery, no matter the size. Number 6. Avery Road Track. Before merging into the larger Minneapolis Moline family, B.F. Avery & Sons left an imprint on America's tractor legacy. One shining example is the Avery Road Track, introduced in the 1930s and produced into the post-war era. Positioned as a lightweight row crop tractor, the Road Track catered to small and mid-sized farms that needed nimble equipment for cultivating and planting. Avery's goal was to offer something competitively priced, yet thoroughly capable. An approach that resonated with farmers who couldn't spring for premium brand models. Under the steel hood, you'd often find a 4-cylinder Hercules or Continental engine generating around 20 to 25 horsepower. The tractor's claim to fame was its adjustable front axle, which allowed operators to shift the thread width for different row spacings. This flexibility made Road Track a dream for row crop farmers, tending to everything from corn to cotton. Adding to its appeal was the relatively easy servicing. Avery's straightforward design and widely available engine components meant downtime could be kept to a minimum. Another neat aspect was its rear wheel design. The Road Track usually had a single front wheel or tricycle arrangement, which enhanced its ability to straddle rows. At a time when the shift from horse-drawn implements to mechanized farming was in full swing, that kind of precision steering was highly prized. However, like many smaller tractor manufacturers, B.F. Avery eventually struggled to keep up with growing competition, leading to its acquisition by Minneapolis Moline in 1951. Now, these days, the Avery Road Track's unique styling and practical engineering made it a sought-after collectible. Parts are somewhat more accessible than you might expect, given that the engines were sourced from established suppliers. Still, intact examples are few and far between. Spotting a restored Road Track in action evokes instant nostalgia for a period when every small tractor company seemed eager to out-innovate the next. Owning one is like holding on to a tangible piece of rural American history, where versatility and craftiness were the name of the game. Number 5. The Silver King Model 42. The Fate Root Health Company from Plymouth, Ohio, had a rather humble origin in producing brick-making machines and locomotive jacks before venturing into tractor manufacturing. Their Silver King line, particularly the Model 42, is revered among collectors for its distinct silver paint, streamlined styling, and surprising capabilities. Produced mostly in the late 1930s through the 1940s, the Silver King Model 42 stood out for being remarkably fast for its time, hitting road speeds that often surprised farmers and onlookers alike. Beneath that shiny exterior, you typically find a 4-cylinder Hercules or Continental engine generating around 30 horsepower. The transmission offered multiple forward speeds, enabling operators to move at a decent clip between fields or along rural roads. This was a big deal when many tractors of that era topped out at a crawl. The higher speed meant that you could skip using a truck for short hauls, giving the Silver King a unique edge in the crowded tractor market. In terms of utility, the Model 42 served well in small to medium-sized operations for plowing, planting, cultivating, and hauling. Its relatively lightweight allowed it to maneuver in tight spaces while still maintaining adequate traction in the field. However, Silver King's limited production capability and fierce competition from big-name manufacturers capped its market share. Today, the scarcity of surviving Silver Kings, combined with their distinctive design and storied performance, has made them a hot commodity for antique tractor enthusiasts. Restoration buffs are fond of that signature silver paint job, as it sets the Silver King apart in a lineup of faded reds, greens, and oranges. This was the era when Americans revered mechanical ingenuity, and the Silver King Model 42 is a shining example, literally, of how creative smaller companies could be in their quest to stand toe-to-toe with agricultural giants, offering something a little faster, a little flashier, and undeniably forgettable. Number 4, the Shephard Diesel SD3. Now, in the 1950s, Shephard Diesel from Hanover, Pennsylvania made a name for itself by producing diesel engines primarily for industrial and marine applications. But the company's foray into tractors, most famously with the SD series, remains one of the lesser-known chapters in American agricultural history. The Shephard Diesel S3 was an ambitious attempt to offer farmers a compact yet heavy-duty diesel tractor in a market that was still dominated by gasoline engines. Fitted with a 3-cylinder Shephard-built diesel engine, the SD3 kicked out roughly 30 horsepower on the drawbar, giving it a hardy edge in pulling power versus similarly sized gas tractors. Now, diesel fuel efficiency was a strong selling point, and while diesel engines were not new to agriculture, they were still far from the norm in smaller tractors. The SD3's direct injection design made it a pioneer, delivering torque and economy that turned heads in the farming community. One of the more interesting aspects of the SD3 was its robust construction. It tipped the scales heavier than many gas rivals, providing the traction needed for tough field tasks like plowing and disking. At the same time, it offered a relatively compact wheelbase, making it easier to maneuver in tight spaces. Though widely respected by those who owned them, Shephard diesel tractors never achieved massive production, hampered in part by limited distribution and service networks. Collectors today are drawn to the SD3 for its rarity and mechanical uniqueness. Now, parts can be tricky to source, especially original Shephard diesel components. Still, there's a small but passionate community dedicated to preserving these machines and celebrating the company's innovative leap into the tractor arena. Spotting a restored SD3 is akin to witnessing an underdog success story, proof that even a niche manufacturer could push boundaries by offering a dependable, fuel-efficient alternative in an era when American agriculture was on the cusp of major technological change. Number 3, the John Deere Waterloo Boy. Now, John Deere might be synonymous with American farming, but the iconic green tractors owe much of their early success to a predecessor known as the Waterloo Boy. Originally produced by the Waterloo Gasoline Engine Company, this tractor line caught John Deere's attention, leading to the 1918 acquisition that paved the way for the brand's rise. The Waterloo Boy was produced in various forms until around 1924, after which the famous John Deere Model D took its place. That short window of production and the significance of its role makes surviving Waterloo Boys very special. At its heart, the Waterloo Boy used a 2-cylinder horizontal engine that delivered somewhere in the ballpark of 12 to 15 drawbar horsepower. Plenty robust for the time. One key measure was its simplicity. The tractor had an external gear train and an open crank design, which meant that the operator was often exposed to whirring gears and a fair amount of noise. It also made for easier maintenance. Now, farmers could see and access critical components without tearing apart half the tractor. The Waterloo Boy was also notable for running on both kerosene and gasoline, though kerosene was cheaper and more common fuel for field work. Starting on gasoline and then switching to kerosene saved farmers money and time when profitability was razor thin. The tractor's sturdy build and reliable operation helped the Waterloo Boy gain a loyal following, convincing John Deere that it was a worthy acquisition. Today, these machines are considered crowning gems in antique tractor circles. Their lineage marks the birth of John Deere's tractor dynasty, making them deeply significant to collectors and historians. Finding a Waterloo boy that's still in running order sparks a profound sense of nostalgia for the dawn of modern mechanized agriculture. It's a testament to the innovations that transformed farming from mule-drawn plows to a new age of productivity, just as the 1900s were hitting their stride. Number 2, the Oliver 80 Industrial. The Oliver Corporation became a force in agricultural machinery after the merger of 4 companies in the late 1920s. Though best known for row crop models like the Oliver 70 or the later Fleetline series, the company also dipped into industrial tractors, heavy-duty versions built for work off the farm. Enter the Oliver 80 Industrial, produced in the late 1930s and early 1940s. While row crop versions of the Oliver 80 were not super rare, the industrial variant was produced in far smaller quantities, targeting municipalities, construction firms, and specialized operations requiring more rugged equipment. Equipped with a 4-cylinder engine, often from Waukesha or Oliver's own engine, the Industrial 80 boasted around 35 horsepower at the drawbar, which was substantial at the time. Built on a reinforced frame and typically offered with heavier front axles, industrial tires, and sturdier transmission, it could handle tasks like pulling road graders, powering belt-driven construction machinery, or towing freight on factory lots. Painted in Oliver's trademark green, or sometimes repainted in municipal orange or yellow, these tractors were visually striking and functional. Now, what sets the Industrial 80 apart from its row crop siblings isn't just the color scheme, but the entire stance of the machine. It usually had a lower clearance, modified fenders, and occasionally a different PTO arrangement to accommodate industrial attachments. Because of its specialized market, Oliver never made them in large numbers. Most farmers simply had no need for an industrial tractor, and these versions cost more upfront. Now, surviving Industrial 80s are highly coveted by collectors who appreciate the blend of agricultural pedigree and industrial-grade muscle. Restoring one can be a bit challenging, as many were heavily used in harsh environments, leaving them battered or stripped for parts. Yet the few that do remain stand as a bridge between traditional farming equipment and the broader industrial applications that shaped American infrastructure in the mid-20th century. Number 1, the Minneapolis Moline UDLX Comfort Tractor. The holy grail of American tractor collecting, the Minneapolis Moline UDLX Comfort Tractor represents a bold experiment in crossover design long before SUV entered anyone's vocabulary. Introduced in 1939, the UDLX aimed to serve as both a field tractor and a road-going vehicle, boasting an enclosed cab with automotive-style steering, a heater, and even a speedometer. The idea was that farmers could work their fields by day and then drive into town for errands or church on Sunday without needing a separate car or truck. Under the hood, a robust 6-cylinder engine offered a then impressive 40-plus horsepower at the drawbar, but the real eye-opener was its road gear that allowed speeds up to 40 miles an hour, which was mind-blowing in an era when tractors could probably top out under 20 miles an hour. The enclosed cab features windshield wipers, upholstered seats, and doors on both sides. While it promised comfort and versatility, the UDLX came at a hefty price tag, far more than your typical open-air tractor. Financial practicality soon cast a shadow over this innovative concept. Most farmers couldn't justify the cost of a dual-purpose machine when a cheaper tractor and a used pickup truck together cost less. Now, as a result, production halted after only around 150 units. That scarcity, combined with the UDLX's future design, has turned it into a white whale for collectors. Every time one appears at a major auction, the bidding frenzy is guaranteed. Today, few things create as much buzz among tractor enthusiasts as glimpsing a UDLX comfort tractor in full working order. Its significance goes beyond mere rarity. It's a snapshot of an era when manufacturers were unafraid to imagine a more convenient, hybrid solution for farmers' needs. That fearless sense of possibility, even if it didn't pan out commercially, makes the Minneapolis Moline UDLX comfort tractor a cherished piece of American tractor lore and a fitting finish to our countdown. Hey, who knew that farming equipment could be so fascinating? Whether it's the pioneering diesel design of the Shephard SD3 or the futuristic dreams of the UDLX comfort tractor, these tractors remind us just how inventive American manufacturers were back in the day. We hope you found this countdown both nostalgic and informative. Perhaps it even stirred some memories of family farms and simpler times. If you'd like to see more deep dives into rare machines and forgotten relics of American history, be sure to subscribe. Hey, thanks for joining, and may your next tractor find be a treasure.